I'm Lanikia, and you're watching What Happened on the Soaps. This is the General Hospital edition. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna have to give this a solid 7 today. It wasn't anything just ripped out at me and made me go woo. So no. Okay, so let's get it started. Today is Monday, May the 5th, May the 9th, 2022. Okay. Okay, let's get Curtis and Marshall out of the way. Excuse me, Curtis and TJ out of the way. So TJ is upset with Curtis because he says, "Listen, uh, Marshall is gone, and he's gone because of you. And I hope this was worth it." And he says, "It wasn't worth it." And Curtis says, "Listen, I'm not going to apologize because I wanted to protect my family from whatever Marshall had going on." Or whatever. He said, "So what did you find out about Marshall?" He said, "Well, I found out." Listen, I'm gonna cut to the chase on this. I found out that Marshall had never been in witness protection. He had never been on the run for anything, mixed it up with gangsters or anything like that. What I found out is that Marshall had been arrested at a protest and they put him in the mental ward institute." And TJ is just like, "Well, thinking about the time that Marshall grew up in and everything that he's been on," he said there's a big stigma still attached to mental health issues. And so what happened to him while he was there, or what happened after that, or what was his diagnosis? And he said that Marshall was like, the file didn't tell him that information, and Marshall was not going to tell him. And he said, "So you didn't find out nothing," is what TJ pretty much said. "You did all this, you ruined everyone's relationship." I mean, Marshall, had to leave, and he was building a relationship with me, on Stella, Epiphany, even Portia and Trina, and you took it upon yourself because you made the decision, and you are the leader, and everyone's being okay with you being a leader. But now it's just you messed up our relationships. I was just getting to know Marshall, my grandfather, and I wanted to get to know him. And Curtis was like, "Listen, I don't know." And so TJ was like, "What are you going to do to fix this?" And he said, "Well, Marshall wants to be left alone." He said, "Well, it didn't stop you from going into his files." I don't know why, but I was feeling TJ today. I was like, I like this TJ. But he was like, it didn't stop you didn't listen to him before and went all in his files and everything when he said not to. And so TJ said, "Well, you're the leader of the family or whatever." They give Curtis that respect. He said, "But I'm gonna do what I got to do." So we all know that TJ and Molly are going to go to New York because they're going to try to find Marshall. It's going to be a little drama going on, but they're going to try to find Marshall. And that's pretty much everything with that. All right, so then we see. Okay, let's go to Chet and Terry. So Chet and Terry are on their date or whatever, and they're having a real good time. And they reminisce about, how they met on Valentine's and how it's nice to see each other. And he says, when she found out about his legs, he was very happy that she took it so well. And she said, I know you're probably used to people not and everything. And he tells her that when he tells some people they don't want to, sometimes they don't want to date or whatever. And she said, "Well, I mean, I was afraid to tell you that I was a trans woman, but you took that in stride." He says, "We both have things that we when we go into a relationship, they're fearful of saying." He said, "Now mine isn't like nothing like yours where, people, I don't have to worry about the government making rules on me. I don't have to worry about violence, hate crimes and anything like that." And she said, "But we still both have, something that we're apprehensive about saying when we first get into a relationship." I like these two together. You know what I mean? I think this will be cute. Like, I wasn't bored listening to them. Now, am I going to give y'all word for word? No. They went on a date. It was it was a nice date and everything with the two of them. And so they were like, "Okay." Um, Terry said, "Well, on our next date," and she was like, "Oops." And he was like, "No, I'm looking forward to seeing you." She was like, "Well, thank you for saving me on that." And so on their next date, they're gonna, get to know each other more. She said, "But first we need to like make it official. Like, what's your name? What's your last name?" And so they both exchanged last names, and she was like, because she had told him earlier, that she worked at GH. She said, I thought you worked at Mercy. She said, I work at GH. She said, but I don't want to get into, I was having a bad day earlier because of a colleague or whatever. And so when he said his last name, she said, wait a minute. Is that you have a sister? It was like, yeah, Amy or whatever. She was like, oh. And so then we see Amy has went to Charlie's. So Nina and Ava are sitting there talking at Charlie's, and Amy pulls up and she's like, "Oh, I had a bad day." And because Nina was like, "Hey, Amy," and Amy was like, "Hey." She was like, "How everything going?" And Amy was like, "I had a bad day." And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry about that. Let me know if there's anything I could do." Nina was just being polite. Amy said, "Well, girl, I'm glad you brought it up," and pulled up a seat. And so they were like, "What would you do?" And she was like, "You know what? I'm not gonna even stress about, Terry or whatever. What I'm gonna do is get a stiff drink." And so she goes and enjoys herself at the bar. And then when Amy's about to leave, Charlie, she sees Julie, and Julie says, "Oh, I saw your brother. He was at the Metro Court, and outside enjoying himself." And she said, "Wait, what? That doesn't sound like him." She was like, "Yeah, he was there with our boss. It looked like they was having a good time." And Amy said, "Oh no," because she realized that was his date and everything. So that was that. So then we go and we see okay, so Ava and Nina were at Charlie's talking. So they were at Charlie's talking, and they were just talking about how um Nina is, going after Michael and Willow, and she said she told Scott Baldwin, go after him. Don't hold back. The only person that he has to leave alone is Sonny. And Ava is just like, Smokes hit me up, the reporter, and she said, "Oh my gosh, what did he want?" And she said, "Is it about Michael and Willow and all that?" And she said, "No, it's about how Avery was born." And so the subject gets real sensitive right here. And she said, he wants to know about you forced labor and then kidnapping. And Nina says, "I was a different person then." And you could truly see that Nina, I know y'all don't like Nina, but come on, you could truly see that she was embarrassed. If y'all didn't fast forward, because I know y'all be saying I fast forward through Nina. You could truly see that she was embarrassed by what she had done, and it was a sensitive topic. And she just tells Ava, "I was a different person. I wasn't in my right mind then." And everything. And Ava was like, "I know that." And she said, "And I didn't give him anything." She said, "The only way I'll say anything is if I testify on your behalf." And so she and Nina, they moved past this. And she says, so they start talking about Sonny, and Nina's just like, "Listen, there's nothing going on with Sonny and I. We danced." And Nina said, "Girl, what?" I mean, Ava was like, "What are you talking about? You dancing?" She was like, "No, really, we just danced." And Ava was like, "Oh." She was like, "Well, at least y'all got something, whatever it is going on." And so then they talk about how Ava is on bad terms with Nicholas right now. And not only is she on bad terms with Nicholas, they're not even having their vow renewal. And Nina was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry to hear that. Why is this?" And she said, "Because of Esme." And she was like, what does Esme have to do?" And she said, "Because Nicholas won't see, he wants to be in Spencer's good graces so bad that he's just befriending Esme, and it's like he can't see the trickery she's doing." And so Nina was just like, "Well, I hope it gets better for y'all, because she does, she was her friend, and she wants her friend to be happy." And she was like, "You don't have Matt get with somebody with stepkids." She said, "Although if you get with Sonny, he got two stepsons." And she said, "Listen, don't let's not do this." And she said, "You gonna have to play nice or whatever with Carly, because he has two stepsons." Now Ava did tell Nina when they first sat down, she said, "Are you sure you want to go after Willow? She just lost her mother and everything." And Nina was like, "Well, no, I mean," she said, "I feel bad for Willow." She said, "But that's all the more reason why Wiley needs a grandmother in his life." And she said, "They're coming after me. They did this first or whatever." So then, she did Willow. She just told her, "You're gonna have to deal with Carly if you come after Michael this way." And she says, "Well, Michael started this, and Carly just better not get in the way." And lo and behold, Carly is at the door. Ava looks up, and Carly is there. Now, Carly has been talking to Valentine, and Valentine is just like, "Carly, You can't feel any sympathy for Nina, and I'm telling y'all, Carly is not about to tell Nina that Willow is her daughter, because Carly, like her whole attitude towards Nina is, I don't have any sympathy for her. She gets what she deserves. She ruined my, my life. She over here, she got my man, she with my husband or whatever. Because Valentine said, you have the life that Nina wanted. You have the family, you have the children, you have the grandchildren, you have the friend, you have the mother, you have the roots and everything. And she said, yeah, but she got my husband. It was like, that don't equal out. She said that ain't equal, girl. But Carly said, I don't care. She was like, and he said, let's not forget you killed Neil or whatever. She said, well, Valentine, Droopy Troll, you the reason why Nina don't know her daughter, because if you had just actually went to talk to her mom and got the truth instead of trying to play Sasha off as being her daughter, she would have had time with Neil. She said, but I don't think it would have did any good because Neil was crazy. I said, listen, Carly does not feel guilty, and that's all the more reason why she's not gonna tell Nina. And I know y'all are Carly fans and everything. I like Carly myself, but I wish she would tell, like, don't do this again. Don't not tell again the way you did with Neil, and because I don't see this ending well. I just don't. But anyways, so I don't know if Carly. Okay, so then Carly asked Valentine. She was like, was Phyllis there when Nina gave birth? And he said, what business of that is yours? I said, well, dang. That's the way he said it. What business of that is yours? And she said, you just said that Phyllis, Wiley, and Sonny are the ones that Nina can, emotionally depend on or lean on or whatever. She said, so I was just wondering to know, does Phyllis feel bad for her because of what happened with her as far as her baby being given up or what, given away? And they said, he was like, I don't know. He was like, I don't know what they're what it is there. And she says, and she shouldn't be, but Carly tells him she should be emotional relying on Wiley anyways. And he says, well, I mean, he was like, she only has three people who, like, that she could consider family or whatever. She says, no, she got people like you and all these men who will come to her defense and everything. And they're just like, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. But he said, at the end of the day, it's not the same, Carly. You have so many people or whatever. I don't know if he got to her or not, but apparently, her and Nina and Carly are going to go head toe to toe tomorrow anyway. So we'll see what happens from there, child. All right. So speaking of Carly and her children, we see that. And Carly gonna tell Valentine and maybe Sonny has Stockholm syndrome, and that's why he don't feel guilt for Nina. He just likes he just loves her or whatever. I said, Carly, you're a mess. But anyways, let's go to Josh and Trina. So Josh and Trina are going in to do yoga, right? And they see Officer Rory, and they was like, okay. And so Josh was just like, oh, what is he doing here or whatever? And Trina was like, it looks like he's about to do yoga. And she said, oh, and she said, so he comes over to them or whatever, and he starts talking to Trina and telling her, oh, I went to the art show. She was like, to eat lunch. He said, no, I went in and everything. So they were talking, and you could just see the vibes coming off, like they really, if it wasn't for this case, that they're flirty and they would probably be trying to date or something. And so Josh was like, oh, let me go to put our bags up. And she throwing all this stuff out like, oh, Trina's very talented and smart. You should have took her with you when you went, because she would have helped you out or whatever. And she was like, let me go put the bags up. And Trina was like, I am so sorry. He was like, nah, but she's right. It would have been better had you went. So they flirt or whatever. And he just tells her, that he's glad, she's out and about enjoying herself. And then she says, so they talk about that, and then she says that she was, she's happy to see him or whatever. And but they do say that because he is an officer, he can't really he can't date her or anything like that. He can't be private sessions with her like that, because Josh was like, well, you ain't your arresting officer, y'all could date, but he can't. And so Trina says, well, maybe after I beat the case, we could hang out or whatever. But she don't mean it like as dating. She meant like as friends or whatever. We could, And he says, no, when you beat the case. And she said, no, it's if. He said, no, it's when you beat the case or whatever. He said, because even he don't believe she did this. But he was just like, and me saying when you beat the case, that has nothing to do with me believing anything, me implying anything he says, because I am impartial. I will do my job, and everything like that. And they were like, okay. She was like, okay, I completely understand now. Esme is outside and she's hearing all this and she's just eating it up like, oh, Trina got a new man. Okay. She can't wait to tell Spencer. So then she leaves or whatever. And Josh comes out, and they were talking and everything, and then he says he has to go. So then he goes and he changes and he leaves because he wasn't going to be at the yoga class. He had just finished yoga class and he was stretching. And so Josh and Trina talking, she was like, girl, like, you're not gonna tell me you don't like Officer Cabrera. And she said, no, I don't feel Rory like that. And she said the same thing Spencer said. Rory is it? I said, Spencer lost his girl. But she was like, stop it. She was like, we can't, like, he's nice or whatever. And Josh just told her, girl, please leave Spencer alone. Like, this man is over here. He's a good citizen. He seems like a good person. He seems like he has a great character. He's a police officer, so he's going to be doing things by the books. She said, he's handsome. He's not spoiled, entitled. Like, this is a good catch. If you're gonna date anybody, date him, please. Leave Spencer alone and go after him or whatever. And she said, yeah, he arrested Cam. She said, but quiet as Cam deserved that, because he was, I love seeing him defend me or whatever. But I mean, he had to do what he had to do. And she said, plus Spencer really deserved to be arrested. And she was like, and they were both like, yeah, but she's not going to date him or anything right now. They're going to focus on getting Esme. Because Trina was like, what else could we do? Like, Esme just got away with this. And Joss was like, no, she didn't. We're going to, she slipped up somewhere and we're going to find out where. So then Esme had actually been at the house earlier at Windermere, and she received a letter from Maggie, and Maggie was just like, leave your daddy alone. Stay away from your daddy. But I'm glad you're making friends and everything is going so well with Spencer. And so Esme put the letter in her shoebox and said, don't worry, Maggie, I'm going to get everything I deserve. So then we see Cam and Spencer talking, and Cam said, is this even working? And he said, I can't even find anything on Esme because she won't leave me alone. She literally is right beside me all day, every day. I can't do anything without her being there. And Cam said, well, she's not with you. You know what? He says, plus she don't 100% trust me. And he was like, why? He said, because she want to be intimate. And how many times can I afford this with this girl? And Cam said, Cam was like, oh no, take one for the team. But anyways, Esme is just wanting to be intimate with Spencer, and Spencer was like, I don't want to. And Cam was like, well, you need to provide some information so we can wrap this up. Trina doesn't have days. And so he was like, Esme is always with me. And so he said, okay, well, why don't you go to the house now? Because Esme was supposed to be doing yoga. He said, and after she gets done with yoga, she's going to come here as soon as I get off, and we're going to be together again. He said, go on to the house now, and I'll hold Esme off a little longer when she gets here. And he was like, okay, cool. So he goes to the house to look for information, and he finds the shoebox with all of the letters and everything. But he doesn't have as much. This is Spencer, but he doesn't have as much time as he thinks, because Esme she didn't even do yoga. She was so excited to rub it in Spencer's face that Trina done found a new man. She went on over to Kelly's, and Cameron is like, what you doing here?" She was like, "I was looking for Spencer. Oh, I'm just gonna go on." He was like, "Oh, I sent him on a milk run. We ran out of milk." And she said, "Oh, I'm gonna just go ahead and go. Just tell him I was looking for him." And Cam tried to. He's like, "Wait, I need to talk to you." So they started talking about how, Spencer defends her because she was like, "Spencer doesn't trust me and all that." And he was like, "No, he defends you." He even tried to accuse me, Josh, and Trina of setting us all up and framing you. And she was like, "Really?" She said, "Oh, but I know you and Josh would never do that or whatever." So, anyways, Cam got Esme thinking he's on her side or whatever, and she was like, "You're such a good man, baby." By this time, Josh walks in and she says, "Excuse me, he is my man, and you need to get your hands off of him." And so that's it with Josh, Trina, and Esme. And that was General Hospital, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. This is going on She all day, all soaps all day. So please be sure that you are subscribed to this channel. It's a new channel. I'm trying, you know how we gotta try to build a YouTube. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow for a new edition of What Happened on the Soaps General Hospital.